Hello everyone, welcome back to Xamarin Form series. In this video, we are going to discuss about modals. We are going to talk about a quick recap of Xamarin Form pages, then what are modal and what are modal pages, and then we'll do some coding to understand what it is. A quick recap of various kinds of Xamarin Form pages. Um, if you want to know more about all type of pages, please watch the previous videos in the series. What is a modal? A modal is a pop-up which covers the current visible screen on a mobile device. Um, Assume that you already have a mobile app opened on Android or iOS device, and you want to show another message and cover the entire area on top of your current page. So the way you will do that is by bringing a modal on top of current page, and inside that modal we can contain another full page just like any of these previous pages. So the way modal navigation flows or works, on the current content page we push a modal which contains a page or any kind of page. Usually we use content page. It takes the entire part of the current screen, and now if we are done doing whatever we need to do on that, usually we display a message or take some information or say thank you on these kind of screens, and somebody clicks OK. Now you want to take it off. That operation is called pop, means we are taking it off from the current series. Push and pop are also a data structure uh, mechanism to stack things. It is also last in first out series. Now let's see modal in action. How does it work? So I'm using Visual Studio 2019 for Mac. You can do the same thing on Windows machine by using the Visual Studio latest version. So we are going to select, and this time, first of all, I'm building this application completely from scratch for the better understanding. We can also do some existing examples, but I always find it much easy and practical to understand by doing things from scratch. Uh, Forms, multi-platform apps, and we want to do blank forms app. Blank form app. We want to write down everything ourselves. We don't want to do anything. Don't want to use any template. So the name I will give learn modal page. This is the organization identifier. You can keep it anything you want to do that. Target platforms Android and iOS. Shade code, you have the choice to use any one of them. It's a longer discussion which one you want to use. It is mentioned in some previous videos in detail. For now, I'm going to use the shade library. The project name, solution name, location is fine. Git, I can use Git also. So this is how we are, bootstrapping the project. So now we have our brand new empty Xamarin Forms solution with three projects, three standard default projects inside. The first thing which you want to do, as soon as you create a new project, you set iOS as a startup project. You can also do Android if you want to do that. It is your choice. I just find easy and I like it actually. And then you just run the solution so that you can see that your bootstrap code is working. You have all the necessary libraries. Once you see the project running, you are good to go. You can start your coding. So now in this demo, we are going to make modal come up on a previous page. So we'll use main page as a source to trigger modal pop-up, and to do that we'll create a button. So you can like this. Let's make it a little more interesting by changing some styles. You don't need to do that. I just feel it more interesting. Okay, so now we are ready. Our step 1 is done, and we are ready to click on this button and bring another model on top of this. But we have done the front end part. Now we have to bind click event of this button. And how do we do that? There are two options. You can either go directly into the C# code. You better define the name for the button so that we can access this button from modal. So that we can access this button from the C# code. You take this and we can do on click. One option is you select clicked and select the handle clicked. Okay, and now we got the backend code. But to make it more easy, to make it, you don't have the option to use the function name of your own choice. The second way to bind that button with an event, you type that button name, and we want to tie it with the clicked event handler. I clicked Control plus space together to see all of the options we can bind with the clicked event, and it auto generates a very nice name for you. The first name for you underscore clicked, and asking for the space where you want to keep it, hit enter, and now we have that method, blank method here, and here we can write anything which should happen when somebody will click on that button. So till now, let's take a pause and run that function to see what we have done so far. We should have the same Xamarin page, but now we should have at least a button which we can click. Eventually it's not doing anything yet because we have not written any code here. So now we bind the event on main page to load a modal page. First thing we do, we define what kind of page we want to show as a modal pop-up, and we have already created a page of type modal, page of type page, right? And its class name is modal1. So modal 1 dot modal page is equal to new modal1. Now the second thing is we want to access current page, this dot navigation property, to see what can we do with this page. And in this property you will see push modal async method, which we need to use to do the entire magic. You select that method, sorry, and inside that you pass the instance which we made in the previous line, modal page, to the next page, and that's it. We have done it. Let's run it. What we have done so far, we had a main page, it had a button, that button has now contains these two lines of code. I click on open modal, wow, and I see that page on top of that. Beautiful. How do I go back? See, so now we need to add another button here to remove this page from the navigation. Let's go back. In this one I need to write a entire code of button, but I am very lazy, So what I will do, I will copy the button style which we wrote in the another class, open model, and now I will change it close model, and it will be a pop event. That's just a text to show that. And we will bind this method, button model click, and this time we'll bind this navigation dot pop model async. What this function will, what this line of code will do, it will remove the current page from the navigation stack, and it will go back to the previous actual page which was holding that modal pop-up. Let's see that in action. We are going to click on this button so that we can see the model, and now the model is on top of the current screen. It occupied the entire screen, and we want to close it so that we can go back. I click on close, I go back, open, close, open, close. So this is the basic way to explain how modal functionality works. We have seen how can we create a simple model navigation page, and we can bring that in action. But we can do much more with these modal pop-ups. To understand that, let's talk about how can we pass the data from parent page to the model page to display something unique. On the model page, let's show some uh, information, for example name, which will come from the parent page. Bring name, text name, name. Fine, so we are good. So name, and how do we show that? We want to bring that data from the parent page, and we can do that with constructors. This is the constructor model 1, and can expect we can expect a simple data. Right now let's bring only name. So we are expecting a name coming in the models, coming in the model constructor, and let's display dot text. Let's build it at this time. Hey Mr. Thanks for registering on our website. These are the specials, and you can display anything. You can also perform some calculation heavy event on this page, and then you want to display that message, or you can have already done that but you want to pass some information. So now let's run it. What we did so far, the now constructor is receiving one parameter, and the calling function, the page you want to display that, is passing that parameter from their side. So as soon as I click on this button, open model, it has passed the name from this parameters to the another page which is sitting on top of current page, and it is displaying that page here. We can also send this data dynamically by collecting either as any output from current page or some value read from the current screen. I am just hard coding for the purpose of explaining the concept. You can put any other object on the screen, or have some other lot of variables doing something, and then you want to take those results and carry on and show some confirmation or anything on the model page. This is how you can pass that. This was just a sample to show you how we can do that. So there is one more way to send the data from the parent page to the title page by the binding context. The way we do that, let's create a different model page which will receive the data with the binding context. I will call it modal 2. It will be almost same like the page 1, so I'm going to do some copy pasting. You don't want to see me typing and getting stuck at many things, which shouldn't happen, but just to save the time, and we change this model to nothing is coming here, and we're not doing any labels. Okay, so this is another copy of a model page where we are not receiving any data from by the constructor, and eventually there is no way it is connected or dependent on any properties from inside that. And now we are going to use the binding context, and hope you guys remember the way we use the binding context is we choose the binding keyword and whatever property we are going to use which contains the dynamic data we want to show that. Now we are using the name property, and in model 1 we have to do I want to add another class, because when we use the binding context, it is always nice to wrap all of your data under one object, because then you can pass that object as a binding context and access all of the properties of that object just like they are local variables to the current page. That is the beauty of using the binding context. So I'm going to make an empty class with the name contacts, and it can contain any number of values, but now for the sake of this demo I'm going to only add properties name, another property so now we have created one class model. This is a model class which contains the data to be passed between various screens or functions. We go back to main page. First of all, we add another button here so that I can differentiate which model pop-up I want to open, and I can see here open model push data context. This is the second model. I'm going to change the title of the first one. The name I will change it to model click to, and in the code base now we need to attach this with another function. Okay, and now what we do, we make an instance of model page 2 because now we are dealing with data context, right? But we still want to do the same process. We want to instantiate a page, instantiate the barebone page, model page 2, and we are not passing anything right now. Now we also set up the database, set up data, and how we do that, we create a contact class, contact, so we set up the data, and now we want to set the binding context of this model page 2 object, model page 2 binding context to this object contact. It means, sorry, contact. Now what did we do so far? It means we instantiated a new object of type model2 page, model page 2, and then we created a separate object of type contexts and preloaded some data into that. Now we are setting the binding context of this page to this object. It means that this page will have access to all of the objects of this one, and the object we properties we have name. Now the final thing which we need to do is we need to push that page to the current navigation model stack. Now let's try to run it. So we should basically see two buttons on the landing page of application, and now we are concerned about the second one, because as soon as we click on this one, it will go through this code base. Wow, and we see the data on the second screen by data context. Now let's see how did it happen. We are in the debug mode, and we see the first line where it is creating the instance of model page 2, this type, and then we are setting up the contact. You can see all of those values here also. Next, we are setting the binding context of this page, which means this page, to this object. And now magically, this pages this page can access the data context of current page all properties like name, address, and here we have said binding name. Just this is magic. This is just magic. Um, and then we just push it, and we have seen that an action. So this is the bare bone application. You can use these methods in many scenarios and make your application great. So in the final part, let's do some fun with these models and actually understand how much power it has. I'm going to add another button to open another model inside the model. I'm going to add one property here called page and root. The reason I'm adding that, I want to access the root page and see how many models are attached on top of that. We need to add another property here. We receive the property from the constructor and set it the property of the current page so that we can use it in the rest of the page. We did that. Now we want to see how many pages we have on the current stack, and the way we can say that, let's change the label name a little bit. Hey Mr. This, I am total models sitting on root R, and you do root dot navigation. Now we want to get modal stack, and we want to see how many we have count. We have to convert it into string. I think we're good to go now. You see that? These are the number of pages are 6 on top of each other. We are just adding them into stack. By closing, now we are going back to the previous one. We can also see the titles and name of all the model pages in a list view. to experiment the list view functionality. Let us add the default title to the current page. Now from the code side, let's initialize the data source. Item source. The source is we are passing the enumeration, the list of data which has to be bind with the list view, and it will be root navigation modal stack. Modal stack returns you a read-only list of page. Now let's run it. Oh, one thing we gotta do here, when we are pushing a new model page, let's update its title so that we can display that dynamically. Model page number. Now let's run it. So this is the same page being added on top of an existing model again and again. We are adding a model on top of the existing model, but we are reusing the same page to show in the current model. So you can see uh, the list of models stacking on top of the current page navigation, and we display that list here. And now if you close, see, we remove the pages one by one from the model stack. I hope you liked the video. Please let me know if you want me to change the way I'm explaining things, speak fast or slow, or I'm running too much away from the topic. Hope to see you in another video very shortly. Thank you so much.